All right, everyone, it's time to get started. Hi out there, great to have you with us today on this quite rainy November day. Welcome to the webinar that we're going to focus on travel and tourism. And some of you have followed our webinar series during the fall, so you know by now that we are running different sessions. Sometimes we're focusing on aspects of the platform and the robot, and sometimes we're deep diving into industries such as today. And I'd like to point out that this session is recorded. My name is Susanna Dillenbeck, and my role here at Furhat Robotics is to work with all our corporate clients, from smaller startups all the way up to big multinational companies. And I do my very best to help them use their robots in the best way possible. With me today, I also have my colleague Nils, who is our product owner. Nils, you're in the same room here. Why don't you come and say hi, or at least wave to the camera? Hey there. And for those of you who have not met with us before, we are Furhat Robotics, a social robotics startup from Sweden, stemming from research at the Royal Institute of Technology here in Stockholm. And we're a diverse group of entrepreneurs, researchers, programmers, designers, who have come together with a joint vision of using technology in a new way, just like we think that you on the call here want to do within your respective area of expertise. So today we have an exciting topic and session ahead of us, and we're going to run it in the following way. I'm going to start by giving a bit of introduction both to social robots and to the overall topic of travel and tourism. And we're going to talk about three overarching areas of opportunities. And while we go through those three, we're going to flip it a little bit back and forth between Nils and myself to show you some practical demos of the robot in combination with me explaining a little bit. So I hope that sounds good for you. I think with that said, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen once again here, so bear with me. There we go. And for those of you who have followed our sessions, I'm going to show a couple of slides that I've shown before. So bear with me. I think it's important that everyone has the same background. And with that, I specifically mean that everyone actually feel comfortable knowing what a social robot is. So when we're talking about social robots, we talk about physical robots built to interact with humans in a social context, as opposed to, for example, virtual chatbots who one could claim are social but not physical, or physical manufacturing robots that are definitely physical but don't have the social element. And these robots, they come in many different shapes or forms. I have added a few of them here on the slide, and as you can see, they range from looking like furry animals to very human-like robots. But all of these, what they have in common is that they are designed and developed to be used in social contexts. So that's good to have with us. Zooming in then on travel and tourism. So I think for many of us, it's quite a sad topic this year. Businesses are shut down, lifelong investments ruined, and the uncertainty is high. And I think it goes without saying that kickstarting the travel and tourism industry will require huge efforts, not to mention a vaccine. And that's nothing that a robot company like ourselves could provide. So why do we bring this topic up now? Well, first of all, Furhat is by nature a no-touch and no-human solution, allowing for social distancing. Interactions with Furhat could provide data to better understand tourist needs and new traveling pattern, and robots are easier to scale up and down compared to the human workforce, and that could cater for the different, quite unpredictable fluctuations in demand. But we believe that the value of social robots, a physical robot that connects with you in a human-like, emotional way, is so much greater than just being a corona-safe piece of technology. So therefore, we decided that we're going to focus on three major areas of opportunities today. And it might be that some of them would need to wait until the post-corona world, but we wanted to bring this focus here and hopefully send some inspiration and new ideas wherever you are on your journey. So the three topics that we want to cover are, first of all, enacting characters, so bringing history and culture to life through the expressiveness of a social robot. Secondly, we wanted to talk about an information interface, so using a social robot to provide quick and efficient support and info, also in different kinds of languages. And lastly, basically take these two first areas of opportunity and combine them into a more overarching idea of a greeter or guide, so creating a very interactive experience in a city, for example, using the technologies at hand. So these are the three things that we wanted to focus on today. So let's get started. So starting with the ability to enact characters, this is one of the exciting opportunities you get by working with a very expressive robot face. And examples of this are the character Mirai that you can see here on the screen, and you will also see her live here in the Zoom in a minute, which is a digital manga character that we brought to physical life together with her creators Bandai Namco in Japan. And the purpose of Mirai is to be at the entrance of theme parks, for example. So if you think about these furry bears that go around and hug kids, this could be a more technical version of that, taking a beloved characters that many people recognize in a specific market and putting it into a digital life with a lot of different features. So that's one example. Other examples could be, for example, in museums or tourist departments where the robot can enact both just one character or several characters in a sort of one robot role play where they can bring historic sessions to life in a new way. Or change appearances and voices through an interactive session that you can learn more about history. Another area of opportunity of using the robot is as an information interface. So you can ask questions on a specific topic, such as train departures or movie times, enabled via integrations to backend systems. One quite advanced example of that is the work that we have done together with Deutsche Bahn, where they are piloting their travel concierge at different railway stations and airports. And the robot is integrated with the arrival and departure schedules and can therefore provide very quick service in different kinds of languages. And Niels, I think I've done enough talking for a while, so why don't I hand over to you, and maybe you can show both Mirai and an example of this information interface. Would that work?
Yes. So I brought Mirai with me here today. She's a little bit out of her elements. As Susanna mentioned, she was built to be in a theme park, not in an office space. And she only speaks Japanese. So most of her communication is done non-verbally, and especially today, because I don't speak Japanese. So she's able to show expressions and emotional states, and she can do so using the anime universe of emotional expression, which I think is really cool and exciting to see how that can be used on a robot. And let me actually grab the camera and give you a little bit closer look of her face, and at the same time I'll also wake her up. So she looks very delighted to see me. Let me actually take control of her, and I can show you some of these facial expressions that she can do. So she can, grab your attention. And when she has your attention, she can make sure to keep you delighted. Let's see. I think this is my favorite one, with the hearts in the pupils there. And when you leave, she might be a little bit disappointed or sad. And every time we show her to people, they are instantly infatuated by her, and she never really fails to trigger a smile. Even though she does not really carry a conversation with you, she reacts to your presence and trying to keep your attention. And as I said, she never fails to bring a smile from anyone interacting with her. Okay, let me now change back the camera, and I will show you that integration with an API to do a more question answering system. There we go. All right. And to do that, I would like to change mask to the adult mask. So we can say goodbye to Mirai for now. And let me start another skill that we will use to interact with this API called Wolfram Alpha that you can send questions to and get answers to, similar to Google, but as a spoken dialogue interface, or mainly a written dialogue interface. In this case, it will be a spoken dialogue interface because we will have the robot speak out the answer. Can you wake up?
Hello, top of the morning. What can I do for you?
Can I ask you a question, please?
I'm just the demo person, and I'm not that good at answering questions. So I will let my buddy George the scientist do that for me. One moment.
I will do my best to answer your questions. But remember, I'm a scientist, so don't get too philosophical. What is your question?
What is the capital of Bulgaria?
Let me think. That was an easy question. The capital city of Bulgaria is Sofia, Sofia Grad, Bulgaria. Do you have any other question?
Who is the current president of France?
One moment. Amazing question. The current president of France is Emmanuel Macron since May 14, 2017. Do you have any other question?
No, thank you. That's enough.
Was happy to help. I will now let you talk to the demo person again.
All right, Charlie is back. Tell me what you want me to do next.
You can go back to sleep, Charlie.
Okay. Nice talking to you. Bye-bye.
All right. So you can see a little example there of how easy it is to interact or integrate the robot with an external database for question answering systems. In this case, an API service on the web. But you can, of course, imagine that you can do this with your own databases for localizing your skill to have this information system. And we actually have an example of this in the tutorial when you get started with the robot. We have a tutorial how to do this integration with Wolfram Alpha. So if you're interested to learn more about exactly how to do it and how to connect these systems, you can check out the docs. And there's a really good example to do that there. All right, but I think I'll hand it back over to you, Susanna, and you can talk a little bit more about that third use case.
Yes, thank you, Nils. Let me go back onto sharing my screen. So we saw here two of the three opportunities. We saw Mirai, so an example of these enacting characters, and we also saw a perhaps simplified example of how we can attract a lot of information from external databases. So I told you in the beginning that the third option would be combining some of these and turning it into more of an interactive guide or greeter. So let's talk a bit about that. And I think looking at a more overarching solution is, like, of course, a more ambitious task, especially if we want to work in multiple different languages. But we have, for example, discussed with several clients that a robot could be placed in an arrival hall of an airport where it could guide new tourists and give some advice on what to do in the surroundings. Or another discussion that we're having is placing a robot in close proximity to a tourist department or big tourist attractions to handle fluctuations and provide more standard recommendations. One similar example of this is actually our collaboration with the National Museum of Science and Technology here in Stockholm, where they placed one of the robots in the reception as a type of a greeter. And the robot could then say hi to newcomers in different languages, talk a bit about what was possible to see in the museum, and also give a greeting and some advice on generally what to do in Stockholm. And we don't have that exact robot with us here, but we wanted to show you what a similar application could look like. So Niels, I think I'll hand back over to you, and we bring up another kind of demo to show the audience.
So what I would like to show you now is a bit of a mashup of this use case of the robot being used in a tourist use case. And the robot will be enacting a couple of different characters that's having this presentation of this the city of Stockholm that we're in right now. And right now the robot can't see me, so it won't respond to me. But when I step in front of the robot, we should start interaction. But I know that I need to just change my setting before that. So let me quickly do that here. There we go. Now the robot should be able to recognize me.
Good day to you. Welcome to my hometown of Stockholm. I am Alfred Nobel.
And I am King Gustav Adolf II. I believe you shall relish our glorious capital.
Oh, Gustav. Would you perhaps like some ideas of places to visit in Stockholm?
Yes, that would be lovely.
Fantastic.
Perhaps you should see the royal palace. It is glorious.
It is a big stone box.
It is also very lovely to take a walk around the old town.
I am very glad you say that. Old Town has been around since well before I was king, but I did have a hand in planning its renovation in the 17th century.
It is also close to the Nobel Museum.
Well, everything is close to Old Town.
Have you been yet?
To Old Town? No, I haven't.
You disappoint me greatly.
I would like to recommend the Nobel Museum. Everyone must be interested in the great discoveries made by the Nobel Prize winners.
Yeah, sure.
I like you.
Nonsense, Alfred. You know you can stroll through Gustav Adolf Square and gaze upon the monument they made to my great victories?
Where is that?
It is on the square down the road.
Men. So pompous. Both of them. Perhaps women should be more in charge. Do you agree?
Yeah, why not?
Good to hear. Perhaps the world is moving in the right direction. Either way. Despite them, the Nobel Museum is a good choice. The committee does not seem to favor books for children, though. But you should still go.
Yeah, maybe I
If
should.
you want to get out of the city, you should really take a look at the archipelago.
I used to love taking my fleet through the islands. There are 30,000 islands, you know.
It is so beautiful out there. Are you looking for something indoors or outdoors?
Maybe indoors, I think.
Ah.
The Vasa Museum is a nice alternative. You can see how far science has taken us compared to a few hundred years ago.
No, no. Don't go to the Besa Museum. It's not so interesting. The Army
Not.
Museum, however, is great.
All right.
You can learn about my glorious conquest through Europe. When I turned Sweden to a great power.
You certainly wouldn't have won the peace prize.
He probably just doesn't want them to learn about how the ship sank because he wanted more cannons. He's ashamed, or what do you think?
Maybe. I think you're chatting a little bit too much. I think I need to leave now. So as you can see that we took some liberties in this interaction and tried to play around and have some fun with it. So we created these different characters, these Swedish characters. They're famous characters. Astrid Lindgren, our cherished writer for children's books. Alfred Nobel, of course, the founder of the Nobel Prize, and one of our most famous kings and generals, Gustav Adolf II. And you can imagine if you had two robots, you could make these interactions and have them talk to each other and have this really interaction that could be fun. In this case, we try to do it within one robot. That could really be fun and neat thing to do. Of course, you can also support this interaction with a screen where you can perhaps have a map, something like this. So when you're talking about these different locations, they can be mapped out on a map, and maybe there's some directions to there. And also, of course, in this type of interaction, perhaps you want a little bit more user involvement and the user driving the conversation and saying, I want to see this, or where is that, or can I take the subway, or how much is the ticket to go to this place, and so on. But for this demo, we wanted to make a more experience where the robot was taking charge and giving you an experience with the robot. So really, to deploy these kind of robots, you need to create that kind of interaction that you want. And what are the needs that you're fulfilling? Is it more of entertainment and getting people excited and interested, or is it more of a usefulness, utility, giving information about how to get around town, how to buy tickets for the local buses and so on? And that's really where we want you, the customer, to come with your ideas and your needs and tailor that interaction. And you have the power of the SDK to build these kind of things on your own, with our backing and our support, of course, but you're really in charge of how you want this interaction to be, and using the flexibility of the robot space to customize and create this engaging and fun interaction. All right, I hope that was a fun little example. I will now hand it back over to Susanna to tell us a little bit more about maybe the business value of this.
Thank you, Niels. And actually, the thing I wanted to touch upon before we start to wrap up this session is why a social robot? I assume that some of you at home are feeling, why do we need a physical robot for this? Why not just use a touchscreen or a voice device? And that's a very good and valid question, because there are definitely times where a physical social robot is not the right bet. But think about your grandparents, or maybe even your parents. Are they comfortable navigating around a touchscreen as compared to only speaking to a robot? And what about those that cannot read? A voice device would of course solve that. But if we think about the Mirai character, for example, how interesting would that kind of character be if you only heard the voice from a speaker on the wall and not saw the entire expressiveness and character and the physical embodiment of that character? And we can specifically think about that if we're playing around with the thought of enacting historical events or cultural events. Then it's nice to not only have the sound, because that we can listen to on our iPhones, but to also have a visual perception of that. So we are well aware that social robots are not always needed, but we do see, or think at least, that there are situations where the social physical element is very, very important, but that where for financial or logistical or even safety reasons, there cannot be a human present. And in these cases, we think that social robots can be a great complement to that. So on behalf of Niels and myself, we hope that we were able to send you a bit of inspiration during these lockdown times where we're all longing and hoping to soon be able to be tourists and travelers again, and that we could spark some imagination for your business going forward. And we'd be happy, of course, to keep chatting to you around that offline after the webinar. But until then, bye from Stockholm and take care.